Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for joining me for Mystery Monday. I really appreciate the support I've gotten from a lot of you to go off the beaten path of my channel and do a different series with Mystery Monday. A lot of you have reached out to me privately saying that you like it and to continue doing it. If you disagree, let me know, but if you like it, then enjoy. So this week we are doing the Delphi, Indiana murders. These have also been referred to as the Snapchat murders. This happened pretty recently. It happened in 2017. Delphi, Indiana, named for the Greek city of Delphi, is the county seat of Carroll County in Indiana. It's a really small, close-knit community. The population is only about 3,000. Those who live in the town describe it as generally safe, really close. Everybody knows everybody. People, leave their doors unlocked. Your basic small town that you hear about, but you don't live there, so you're like, what? You leave your doors unlocked? It's crazy. The people who live there described it as a place that they felt safe. In February of 2017, that changed completely, and I honestly don't think that the residents of this town really feel safe any longer. Abigail Williams was 13 and Liberty German was 14. They both attended the same middle school in Delphi and became fast friends when they were on the volleyball team together. Libby was described as outgoing, outspoken, smart, kind of a band geek. She wanted to be a science teacher someday. Abby was a bit shy around strangers, but her friends said she really opened up when she was with them. Abby loved to read. She was a budding artist, interested in photography and drawing. Both Abby and Libby were extremely interested in forensic science and police work. They were really into true crime. So our story starts on February 12th. Abby slept at Libby's house that night because the next day, which was February 13th, they didn't have school, so it was like a makeup for a snow day. Libby's sister said they did basically the same thing that normal young girls do at a sleepover. They did crafts, they watched movies, they hung out and talked and gossiped. The next morning, however, was a pretty nice day for February. It was sunny and the weather was pretty mild and they were bored, so they decided to go on a hike to the Monon Bridge trails. It just so happened that Libby's older sister Kelsey was on her way to see a friend at that time, so she said she would drop the girls off at the start of the trails on her way there. So Libby's sister dropped them off at the start of the trail about 1:30 p.m. Shortly after being dropped off, just like normal teenage girls, the girls began posting and sharing pictures of their day on social media. At 2:09 p.m., Libby uploaded a picture of Abby to Snapchat on the Monon High Bridge, just walking along the bridge, and that was the last picture of the girls that anybody would ever see. The Monon High Bridge, it's a huge thing for the people of Delphi. It's very pretty, it's very beautiful, there's trees all over. That area is the backdrop for prom pictures, wedding pictures, graduation pictures. It's a beautiful area and it's kind of like a special place to the people of Delphi. However, it's very, very dangerous, and it's actually illegal to walk on that bridge because it's not safe. The Monon High Bridge was built in 1891 and abandoned in 1987. It's 63 feet high. It's believed to be Indiana's second highest bridge. There's no rails on this bridge. It's made out of really old, kind of degrading, rotting wood. There's places on the bridge where there's not even pieces of wood, big gaps in the wood because it's fallen and just rotted out. It's very dangerous looking. I don't know if I would feel safe walking on it, but lots of people do, and they still do, even though it's not legal and it's not allowed. Lots of people still do walk on the bridge. It is a beautiful area. It's pretty for pictures. It must be nice to just be out there. During this time, Libby was recording a lot on her phone. She actually recorded her and Abby kind of chit-chatting, about normal things, like what they were doing, friends at school, but they also were kind of discussing how there was a creepy man following them. And they said this in this video that the police have, that they felt creeped out because there was a man and he was following them. But at about 3 p.m., Abby's father called Abby to make sure that the girls were going to start heading back to the beginning of the trail where he'd be picking them up, and they had decided that he would be picking them up. He was on his way to get them and he wanted to make sure that they would be there when he got them, but she did not answer her phone. He kept trying to call and got no answer. So at that point, everybody began to get worried. Not too worried though, they were like, maybe they got lost, maybe they lost their phone. this was what was considered to be a safe town. Everybody knew everybody. Nobody really thought that anything horrible could have happened. Maybe one of them had twisted an ankle. Maybe they just lost their cell phone. Maybe they just went off the trail and couldn't find their way back. Nobody suspected foul play at this point. When they still couldn't find the girls at 5:30 and they hadn't heard from them, that's when people started to get worried and the girls were reported missing. By 6 o'clock that evening, the trails were flooded with people from the town looking for them, calling for them, searching every square inch of these trails and the bridge and the surrounding areas. And it's not what you think of maybe as a nature park in your neck of the woods, and in my neck of the woods too, because we have a really big park and it's called Letchworth State Park, but it's pretty, I don't know, it's pretty populated. Like there's always people around and it's kind of more well kept. There's not just these like big areas of wilderness you can get lost in. But here, this is not your average kind of state park. There's not one entrance to get in and one entrance to leave. There's multiple entrances all over the place, multiple places you could enter or exit the park. And some of these places you could get in are in the middle of like the woods and the wilderness, and it's just not your average run-of-the-mill state park. So they were combing this place, but it's so massive and there's just areas that are just trees and overgrown and things like that. So by midnight, the town said, okay, it's dark, we're not finding anything. We're gonna, come back tomorrow as soon as it gets light out and look again. So the next morning, which was February 14th, Valentine's Day, the girls' bodies were found on the banks of Deer Creek, which was roughly 1 kilometer from where the picture of Abby on the bridge was taken.
The girls were last seen alive on the day before Valentine's Day, hiking on this abandoned railroad trail. And now, more than a week later, investigators don't appear any closer to finding out who murdered them. They are pleading with the public for any tips, even those that might seem insignificant.
Their bodies were found on a piece of private property owned by a Ron Logan, who was 77 years old and was on probation at that time for driving without a license.
German reportedly posted these photos on her Snapchat during their hike on February 13th. When the girls failed to return, the residents of this town of about 3,000 launched a search. Their bodies were found the next day, about a half-mile away, on property owned by Ron Logan.
They searched his property, obviously, and checked his alibi. They didn't find anything, and his alibi was that he had been, driving, which he shouldn't have been. There was a reason on his probation that he wasn't supposed to be driving, so he was driving, and he had, I guess, gone to like a dump site or something, and then he stopped and had a couple beers on the way home, which was a violation of his probation, which he ended up serving time for violating probation that day. But that night in Delphi, more than 700 people attended a candlelight vigil in honor of Abby and Libby, whose lives were ended so abruptly without any reason, and everybody just felt really scared and confused. They didn't know who had done it. They didn't know why anybody would do it. They were sure that nobody in their small town would have done this to, Delphi's own daughters. So everybody was just heartbroken, sad, confused, so many emotions running through. Nobody felt safe. I imagine that night in Delphi was a very rough night for everybody. On February 15th, the police released a very blurry image taken allegedly from Libby's cell phone. And that blurry picture ended up being what is called a screen grab from a video that was also on Libby's phone, which the police released a small snippet of that video, just the audio from that video, a week later. And in the audio, you hear a man's voice saying, "Down the hill."
One of the girls captured this cell phone image of the suspect and recorded his voice ordering them to come down the hill. Down the hill.
Down the hill. We don't know anything about the video that the police have. They have been very tight-lipped about it.
Are you able to tell us on that tape that Liberty took whether you hear the crime?
We believe that she captured an image of the murderer. Mm-hmm. We believe that she captured the voice of the murderer. And that's as far as I can go with what has been on and what we found on that phone.
We just have that one blurry image, and then we also have the audio from the video of the man's voice. And I think the police were hoping with that blurry image and the audio that it would be a little bit easier to find this person without having to release too much. And the reason that they said they don't want to release too much, and you see this in crime shows all the time, is because they kind of want the control over the situation. They want to know the specifics of the murders, because when you're getting thousands and thousands and thousands of tips in on like a crime line, Some of them are just random. Some of them are people that think they know something but don't. Some of them are people who don't know anything and are just playing games because there's weird psychopaths out there. And some of them could legitimately be important and worth it. And the way you weed out what's kind of random and not involved and what's actually connected is by withholding information from the public, so that if you get a tip that they know something that you haven't released to the public, you know it's a legitimate kind of lead and you can follow it instead of wasting your time following every lead you get. And it is smart, and I understand why. But the public in general was really agitated. You know, they were like, if you have more evidence, let's see it. Release it so we can kind of bring this person to justice. And the police were getting really agitated because people took this case to heart. They were really upset. They were taking like the picture of the guy and putting it next to pictures of like other people, random people, and being like, doesn't this guy look like this guy? And the police have reached out to the public multiple times to tell them to stop trying to solve this crime via social media. So according to the police, the audio of the man saying down the hill, it's from a video on Libby's phone. And they speculate that the words down the hill are the man telling Abby and Libby to go down the hill to the place where they were eventually murdered, and their bodies were found later.
Do you know whether it was a conscious choice to press record? You know, do we have any idea how the iPhone, was it an iPhone? How the iPhone went on?
We believe it was a conscious choice by her because what was happening was not normal. But that's speculative at this point in time.
There was an unnamed witness on the bridge that day. And obviously this person wants to stay unnamed for a reason, which is that she saw the face of the man that killed these girls, and she's probably the only one who saw his face, so she doesn't want to become a target. But from her statement of seeing him, they also created a composite sketch. So using her statement as well as the blurry picture that they had from Libby's phone, they created a composite sketch of the man that they think was the person who killed Abby and Libby. So basically that's the whole case cut and dry. There's so very little known about this case. We don't know how the girls died. We don't know if there was a sexual assault. We don't know anything that the police know, really. Going on 2 years after this happened, people are becoming very frustrated because they think that the police should have made more headway by now.
There is nothing that we won't do, nothing we're not doing. And I was asked earlier, is this going to go cold? And I don't believe it is. I believe this will come to fruition.
There are obviously a lot of theories, what happened, who did this, and a lot of them are crazy and just people on the internet speculating. There are a handful that are believable and apparently have been and are being looked into, so let's go into the theories really quickly. So recently, I'm sure you've seen in the news, John Miller of Fort Wayne, Indiana, confessed and was arrested for the rape and murder of 8-year-old April Tisley in 1988.
John Miller was arrested this week for the strangulation of 8-year-old April Tinsley in 1988. April's murderer left taunting notes and this message found scrawled on a barn door. I kill 8-year-old April Marie Tinsley. I will kill again. And now authorities are investigating whether the suspect could be linked to another notorious and unsolved murder case, the slayings of these two teenagers on a nature trail 2 hours away.
Investigators found Miller's DNA on trash and other evidence obtained from the crime scene, as well as the taunting messages that he left behind. Miller lived only 2 hours from the place where Abby and Libby were killed in Indiana at the time of the murders.
The accused killer lives in a trailer outside Fort Wayne, Indiana, a 2-hour drive from the city of Delphi, where teenagers Libby German and Abby Williams were slain last year.
A lot of people think that the cases are connected because Miller did write on the wall that he had killed April and he was going to kill again because he seemed to have a penchant for young girls, because he had already murdered a young girl and gotten away with it for so long. Why would he not do that again?
This is a police sketch of the Delphi suspect. Compare it to Miller's mugshot.
Others believe the two cases are not connected because when police did apprehend Miller for April's rape and murder, they asked him, do you know why we're here? And he replied, April Tisley. And people think that since the Delphi murders were so much more recent, that if the police had apprehended him and asked, do you know why we're here? He would have responded, you know, the Delphi murders or Abby and Libby or whatever, that he would have thought they were there because of Abby and Libby, not because of April, which happened in 1988. Once again, the police are being very tight-lipped on whether or not they think there's a connection. They have not at all said whether they found DNA at the scene of Abby and Libby's murder. So we don't know if they have DNA to compare to John Miller's DNA now that they have him in custody. And they're not saying whether they think they're connected or anything. They're just saying like it's something we're gonna look into. Another theory is the Daniel Nations theory. Daniel Nations has been convicted several times of public indecency, not registering as a sex offender. He, at one point, threatened hikers out on some trails with a hatchet. He's unstable and he has some issues. At the time of the murders, he was also living only 2 hours away from Delphi, Indiana. Many think that he really resembles the composite sketch of the suspect in the Delphi killing, especially when you look at kind of this side-by-side picture. He sort of does. Even his wife admits that he does sort of look like the sketch, but she doesn't think that he looks like the picture that was taken, like it was the wrong body type, kind of like clothes he would never wear, etc., etc. She does admit that he's crazy, he has anger problems, she's afraid of him, but she doesn't think he was connected to these Delphi murders.
I've been with Daniel for almost 6 years. We've been married. And looking at that picture and looking at him, there's a lot of similarities.
He insists that he's innocent and he didn't do this. He says he has children of his own. He would never kill any children. And to be fair, he has never killed any children.
Nation said 2 inmates woke him in his cell and threatened to kill him. They'd seen him on the news and accused him of killing 2 teens in Delphi.
He's mostly just kind of like a flasher sort of thing. And he does seem to be violent, but he's never been involved with hurting or killing any children, so it doesn't seem to be his MO. It would seem more likely that John Miller would do something like this rather than Daniel Nations, because John Miller, it would fit his MO, whereas Nations, it kind of doesn't. It doesn't really make sense. Daniel Nations claims he always wears his hair really short cropped. He would never wear his hair long, like sticking out under a hat like the person in the picture. He was in the Marines when he was younger, and it's kind of a habit that just stuck with him, like keeping his hair very short. He also claims even though he lived within driving distance of Delphi, he didn't have a car at the time, so he wasn't able to just get in his car and drive over there. And he was also willing to give his DNA to authorities. And since the authorities have never released whether or not they found DNA at the scene, it would be very possible that they had found DNA at the scene, and with Nations not knowing whether they had or not and still being willing to give his DNA, kind of says to me that he didn't do it, but it's still out there and it's still, I guess, being looked into. Another kind of theory is, and I know that the police have cleared this person and whatever, but to me, I would look more into this kind of theory. Just seems coincidental to me. Ron Logan, whose property the girls were found on, now he has a big property, right? So it's not just like it was his backyard. It backs up to the park with all the wilderness and stuff. I don't know, he just has like a bad rep. He just kind of seems like somebody, he's on probation for doing something wrong. He continues to do that thing wrong, kind of disregarding the law, disregarding any rules that are set in front of him. And to me, he kind of resembles, more than Nations, the picture of the suspect. He has the same kind of body type, even kind of wears the same kind of clothes.
This is the first, as far as I know.
I thought that it was a little startling. He looked kind of like the suspect to me, but apparently he's been cleared and the police are no longer looking into him. And then there's 2 branching off theories, right? So was this somebody the girls knew, or was this somebody who just randomly saw them and decided to attack? The police had released a statement at one point after the murder saying, be very careful about what your kids are doing on the internet. And that kind of led to speculation that Abby and Libby had been catfished. So had they been talking to somebody on the internet, and the reason they wanted so badly that day to go to the Monon Bridge was because they thought they were meeting like a kid or, a boy that they were talking to on the internet, and it ended up being this child predator who took their lives. Their parents don't think that's what happened, just because they didn't think that the girls looked like they were dressing up or wearing makeup or doing their hair or trying to look nice that day when they went out hiking, as if they would if they were meeting a boy. But it is possible that this man could just be skimming the internet looking for young girls to meet up and then kind of attack them. The other possibility is it was somebody random, right, that basically woke up that day and said, I need to find a girl to kill or whatever, and just took off on that trail looking for somebody, and he happened to be attracted to both Abby and Libby, or one of them, and since he didn't think he was going to get another opportunity or find another random solo girl walking by herself, he was like, I'm just going to go at these two. There was a speculation that he did grab one of them and kind of use that one as leverage to get the other girl to follow. There was speculation that I think it was Libby could have run multiple times and gotten away, but she was loyal to her friend till the very end, refused to leave Abby with this man.
The safety and security and their friendship, I believe, is what kept them together, that should one or the other have had the opportunity to leave, they didn't.
So basically that's the difference between like a crime of motive or a crime of opportunity. Did this person seek them out, know their habits, know where they were going to be, purposely looking for these two girls? Or was it just a predator who got that urge and was going to take it out on the first person or people that he found? Hopefully it's not somebody living in that town with their family and friends. That would be the worst, I think. But so that's pretty much where we are now with this crime. We don't know anything. The case hasn't gone cold. The police say they're still getting many tips in, but they are not they're not really getting anywhere. I really hope that if we get this story out there enough, and if it's shared on Facebook, and if it's shared on Twitter, and if it's shared everywhere you possibly can, share this, please, and get Abby and Libby's story out there. They were well loved by their family, well liked by their community. They were at the beginning of their lives. They were looking forward to spending the next 4 years together in high school, and going to football games and going to prom together and talking about college. They were looking forward to that. They deserved to have that, and they had it taken away from them for absolutely no reason.
And last week, the kids here in Delphi started school, and both families say that was a tough day for them, thinking that Libby and Abby should be there too, but weren't.
These young girls, they were children, 13 and 14, that's so young. Like, they had everything ahead of them, and they were smart, and they were motivated, and they were interested in going into a field that would help other people. And I just think it's devastating to see two bright lights like that go out. The town of Delphi still lights orange lamps outside of their houses every night, and they said they will continue to do so until Abby and Libby's killer is brought to justice. Obviously, their parents are still out there raising awareness, pushing their names out into the public, trying to keep their story in everybody's mind, so that if anything does come to light, people will be more likely to put two and two together. So if you are somebody who wants to help and you want to raise awareness for this case, I don't care how you do it. You don't have to share my video. I'm not doing this for likes or subscribers or shares or whatever. You can just tell somebody about the story. Tell somebody about Abby and Libby. Tell somebody about what happened to them. Show them the picture of the suspect. Show them the audio of his voice. The more people that know, the more brains we have working on this. And this guy could be from anywhere, he could be from New York, Los Angeles, Alaska. Who knows where he's from? He could be a trucker and just makes his way across country. Anybody could see him at any time. You don't have to be from Delphi. You don't have to be from Indiana. So raise awareness. We have to find justice for these girls. I truly hope that this case will be solved one day. And I cannot wait until it is. Thank you again for joining me this week on Mystery Monday, and I appreciate you all being here once again. Please hit like if you liked it. Please subscribe if you want to see more, and let me know how you felt about it. And if you know anything about Abby or Libby's murders, there's a tip line, and you can also call the FBI, and I will insert that information into the description of my video. Okay, thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful day. Stay kind, stay beautiful, and I'll see you next time.
Scott, everywhere you look in downtown Delphi, there are reminders of Libby German and Abby Williams, like these ribbons made out of the girls' favorite colors.
You've left me with such a silent world. The evenings are calm, but I'm restless, and my breath has become as thin as the wind. Not even the mighty sky can fill the space you've left behind. Not even when it rains. No, nothing takes your place. Your emptiness too great to fill. Ooh, I have been holding my breath for too many nights in a row. And somewhere on coastlines unknown to me, you paint your dreams with reds and blues and greens. Yeah, you're painting daffodils by the sea without me. Day in a breeze, I sensed your perfume, but you were nowhere near. And in reverie, I felt you holding me. And even in my dreams, I shake from the fear that you've been swept away by the rhythm of the waves that whisper in your ear.